ladies and gentlemen, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
He is in the middle of a national stand-up tour and up on the silver screen in the new film Brother, Darryl M. Darryl. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, baby. Clarence Thomas was completely lynched in his hearing.
Stop. No, stop. Don't say Clarence Thomas was lynched. Clarence Thomas is alive and sitting on the Supreme Court. No, when you say a black man was lynched, don't throw that around like that's something you can just toss out there.
That's his word.
No, stop. Let's make this clear. For the Senate Majority Leader, one of the most powerful, white, affluent men, the House Majority Leader, to say that he has in some way, in any shape or form, suffered any kind of racial prejudice is so disingenuous, it's almost repugnant.
Look at the ad that was run, the NAACP ad.
No, wait a minute. We can try to outshout each other. You can let me make my point.
You make yours.
All right, so now let's break it down.
Go ahead.
All right. What the Democratic leadership in the Congressional Black Caucus isn't talking about whether or not a racist exists in the Republican Party, David Duke. What they're talking about is whether or not the Republican Party systemically and institutionally supports policies which are racist, like opposing the Voters' Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed Jim Crow practices, which were taking place in southern Florida this year to deny black folks the right to vote in this election.
More Republicans supported the Civil Rights Act than Democrats. Democrats filibustered the Civil Rights Act in 1964.
All I know is you're wearing a white hat and you're wearing a black hat. Black people don't wear that hat and white people don't wear that hat.
Look, it's like, it's a
so I think that's really,
no. Okay. 93% of African Americans voted for Al Gore. Why? What has he ever done for
Because we didn't want George Bush. That was confusing.
I mean, I think like one of the only ways through racism is to have dialogue. I mean,
we try that, baby.
And then, of course, interracial babies till we're all one color, which pisses a lot of people off.
That's what white folks are scared of. They hate the whole thought of interracial relationship because they always
I'm not scared of it. I think it's a fabulous idea.
Oh, it is. It's true. It's true. It's a good thing. Because if you put two ugly people together and they have an interracial baby, it's always cute. That's ugly people's only shot at getting a cute child is go interracial. You see this beautiful, exotic-looking woman, and you look at her mother like, oh, God. And then you see the black father, you go, I got it. That's how it works.
Okay.
But Louis, what you were saying is true, that I believe that individually there are racists on both sides of the aisle. I don't doubt that racism is somehow impervious to Congress. What I do believe, though, is as a majority or as a party, the Republican Party tries to oppose racially progressive issues. When you can take Colin Powell, who's the most respected black Republican, he stood up at the Republican National Convention and said, we as a party need to support affirmative action, and got his ass booed by Republicans. That tells you where Republicans are at, and that's why the ones that aren't going to private and the Republican kids that aren't going to private school, George Bush is advocating we give them vouchers to get them the hell out of the public school and send them to the private schools. So that's why Republicans ain't got nothing to do.
It is a fallacious argument to say that because Democrats control the school boards, there are 12 other factors involved, that it's the Democrats who are...
If it's a matter of policy, then it's their responsibility. This girl is my friend. She teaches. And they were talking about the education system and the election. And all the kids were like, I'm furious that Bush won. I'm furious that Bush won. And they're like, she's like, well, why? And they said, because we are going back to slavery. Now, what do you say if you are a white person or you are a Republican? That's the message going through. And she said, where did you hear that? And she goes, well, my preacher. That's where they're getting, that's the information getting these kids. What are you supposed to do?
Look, if you want to talk about politicized rhetoric, we could go and talk about...
Just answer my question. Don't
don't tell me how to answer your question. Let me speak for myself. Because I believe I asked you what inner city school you were last in, and I never got an answer to that. So you'll wait till I get around to it.
Go ahead.
So now, as we were saying...
So,
as we were saying, the point about...
I smell an ass whooping coming up in the play.
And I kind of wish it was me. I like it.
But the point about whether or not someone makes a reference to slavery or the type of practices and makes some sort of, a reference, it has no bearing on fact and reality. The fact is
It's their reality. It's what they think.
No, the fact is that young, impoverished children are going to public schools that need help. They need teachers that need help. They need teachers that need funding. They need school books. They need all the help they can get.
They need to
and
learn how
that
to
isn't a
read.
Democrat or Republican problem. And it certainly wasn't something that was created by Democrats. And if y'all have all the answers, why don't you fix it?
We are trying to fix it.
So
What
when
has
I'll-
Jesse Jackson ever done for the
Well, he wasn't in our district.
What has
But-
Jesse Jackson ever done for it? Do you
He's
live
a
in America?
hustling poverty pimp. He has made
He is a-
millions of
wait a minute.
dollars.
You need to
off
back
the-
up now. You need to, wait a minute. You
Al
don't call Jesse
Sharpton
Jackson a pimp?
a poverty pimp.
A
Absolutely.
poverty pimp.
Absolutely. He goes in.
You gonna say that on
Okay,
national television?
absolutely.
Wait a second.
Well, say
To
it
be
again.
fair, he's quoting J.C. Watts called him.
Exactly. Who is black, by the way?
Yeah, but he's an Uncle Tom.
Wait.
Right, exactly. What has Maxine Waters ever done besides run around calling everybody racist?
Whoa, Maxine Waters?
She's that racist. How has her district changed? How have her citizens in her district gotten any better off? They haven't.
Well, let me ask you a question. Who did Maxine Waters and Jesse Jackson execute? George Bush is killing black folks and
you kill
Latinos in
someone,
Texas
you get
every
executed.
week. So no,
Because
but
they
back
enforce
up
the law.
off. No, you called Jesse Jackson a poverty pimp. What Jesse Jackson did
Yes,
was go rescue
because-
American hostages overseas. What Jesse Jackson did was run for president. What Jesse Jackson did is
To raise
every
more
time
money to
an African
line his
American has
pockets.
found himself in need of help in terms of racial injustice, Rainbow
What has gotten
Coalition
better
and
in the
Jesse
black
Jackson
community?
has been
What
there to
has
take up their
gotten
cause.
better in
So
the
don't
black
talk
community?
about Jesse Jackson being
I'll tell you
a
what
pimp.
has gotten better in the black community. Their visibility. The visibility. Jesse Jackson gets
press is
visibility.
And makes millions of dollars, has never had a job.
Well, George Bush makes millions of dollars.
Let me explain
No, he
something
doesn't.
to
He
you.
makes
You know where it's going.
There's a billboard on I-95, or there was, for the vagina monologues. It was 20 feet high, so the word vagina was 20 feet high. It actually said the
a big
vagina
vagina, though.
monologues spread the word. Now, I'm not kidding. So this state senator objected. He said, you know, I can turn off the TV, I can turn off the radio, but I can't turn off that if my kids are in the car. And you know what? I tend to agree with him. I think...
Yeah.
I think
Except it gives an opportunity for that parent to explain.
See, I
But
agree
that's
with
the
Louis.
whole point.
Billboards?
Well, I think freedom of speech, where do you limit it then? I think it goes right, speaks to that directly.
Yeah,
I agree with Louis.
Let's be
dangerous
clear
ground.
that the vagina is not slang, it's not an epithet, it's standard English. And if you lack the ability to parent and explain what vagina is to your child, you shouldn't have the right to breathe.
I agree.
I think if your kid's old enough to like read it and pronounce it, that you should have a dialogue about a vagina.
Bottom line.
Like,
But the whorehouse issue should be just as easily tabled as any other adult conversation. If a child can sit there and read, Mommy, what's a little whorehouse? You say, look, don't worry about it. That's an adult something that you don't need to worry about, and we move on. Just like when you say, well, Mommy and Daddy are having an adult conversation. This is not for children, and you move on. And if you don't have the ability to table that conversation, again, you shouldn't be a parent.
Yeah, but you know what? A parent...
You're talking about a parent should have the right to choose their time, but a parent never really has that right. You're never ready for...
What do you mean?
Because you can't...
live in the world.
When a girl first gets that time of the month, you can't plan that. When your child decides to have sex, you can't plan when he's going to do that. When they come to you and say, Daddy, I need your help, it doesn't matter if you're on the phone, you got to stop and talk to them.
All right.